Greetings all, Dr. Raphael X here with my returning guest, my friend Dr. Thomas Michaud. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it, as always.
Appreciate you inviting me, Raphael. I enjoy doing these videos
Yeah, it's great, and we
very
have
much.
a good one today, which you wrote an article for a Polish newspaper, which you can tell us the name because Polish is not they say it's a language of heaven because it takes an eternity to learn it, right?
That's
That's the
true.
joke.
That's true.
So
Uh,
it's yeah, and so the name of the article is Catholic Views on Artificial Intelligence Revolution. So before anything else, though, let us begin with the sign of the cross, kind of blessing this discussion in the name of the Father and of the
Son,
Son.
and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
All right, so please, if you can talk to us about this, because now you mentioned Pope Leo the 14th, and he's kind of, he's dealing with what we call what is called the fourth industrial revolution, which is the AI revolution, and this is why Pope Leo took that name, of course, to kind of Pope Leo the 13th dealing with the first, the more known industrial revolution. Now we're in this AI revolution, and if you could talk a little bit, because you have a very balanced view with AI. I like that. You're not the doom and gloom, but at the same time, we need a type of ethics to as a framework to guide us. So yeah, if you can talk a little
Indeed.
bit about this article, and again, so this article will be its link will be in the description, so you can check it out for yourselves.
Very good. The AI revolution. You know, so much of the rhetoric surrounding the AI revolution, Raphael, is that apocalyptic doom and gloom. Skynet is going to take over, Terminator reference there, and we'll be facing the end of humanity. Um, if you go on the internet and search positions, attitude articles regarding the AI revolution, you'll find an incredible amount of articles and claims regarding AI and its horrific possibilities. Just to give you a sense of some of those, we have a University of Chicago professor, Eric Oliver, who claims that the fear, and I'm quoting, the fear about artificial intelligence is not just that AI will take our jobs, wreck our politics, or degrade our ability to think, but something far worse. AI will destroy humanity itself. And then there's the AI pioneer, Joshua Bengio, who worries that AI will engineer some sort of lethal pathogen, a type of super coronavirus, which will eliminate humanity. He says there's nothing close in terms of the scale of danger that the AI revolution poses. There are more of those types of apocalyptic, alarmist warnings. However, in my sense, it is reminiscent too much of the apocalyptic claims that surrounded the Y2K event. Um, I'm sure you recall that somewhat. Um, Being in the midst of it, it was worrisome. I recollect, and this is an interesting anecdote, at our parish, um, that we had an 11:30 p.m. mass, New Year's Eve mass, special circumstance. Our pastor called it. He was an interesting, very smart. capable pastor. Um, and we began the Mass. It was loaded, hundreds of parishioners there. Um, we began the Mass in the church only in candlelight. Now, this is a big church. Small candles were given to all of the congregants, and they were lighted. There were candelabra and various candle displays around the altar, and so on. He began the Mass at 11:30. It was timed perfectly so that at around 11:59 p.m., he began his homily. And the homily was basically an attempt to assuage the alarmist worry regarding the Y2K event, and proceeding into the homily until just a few ticks after midnight. So now we're on January 1st, 2000. He said to the congregation, "Let's see if there will be light." And he turned on all the lights in the church were turned on, and it was normal. And the congregation erupted in applause. It was just a tremendous kind of ostensive demonstration of how alarmist and unfounded, actually, the worries about AI were. Not AI, but the Y2K. It was related to AI in a sense because we were convinced that there would be a total breakdown in the grid, and computers would go haywire, et cetera, et cetera. I think a lot of these AI revolution worries, alarmist rhetoric, is similar to that Y2K event. They're scary. They're, as I've mentioned, worrisome, but I don't think we're going to see some kind of apocalyptic event within 10, 25 years that they're claiming. It's overdone. And what I find to be extremely positive and encouraging is the engagement of the church under Pope Francis and our current Pope Leo to address these AI problems and, to a certain extent, calm the fears of an AI, an oncoming AI apocalypse that will ultimately destroy humanity itself.
Right. That's really interesting. So how do we how should a Catholic kind of see AI and encounter AI? Because with your balanced view that you're having, it seems like you're saying that almost like the alarmist view is kind of deterring us from or deflecting from the real problem here, which is an ethical problem. And you mentioned that if you get into that a little bit, and it's what the popes are kind of tackling, essentially addressing little by little. Obviously, Pope Leo the 14th is pretty new. So what is the real problem with AI?
Good. There are problems, and there are legitimate, valid reasons for ethical concern. Um, um, I like the approach Leo the 14th is taking. He's building on a foundation which Pope Francis, put in place, and extending it, in fact, so that, like his namesake's approach to the first Industrial Revolution, Leo the 13th. Leo the 14th, again, following the lead that Francis established, is approaching the AI issue in a moderate way, a great deal of prudence, and the lead that Leo the 13th established has been quite positive. What do I mean? Leo the 13th in the late 19th century was immersed in an industrial revolution. The problems were legion, all kinds of issues pertaining to worker abuse, need for workers' rights, need for special groups, assemblies, unions to protect workers' rights. Leo the 13th saw all that, but at the same time recognized that the Industrial Revolution could be and should be a fundamentally good event. Mm. What he aimed to do was to steer a middle course, lead a middle course between unrestricted, laissez-faire capitalism, which was problematic at the time, to be sure, a kind of no holds barred, perhaps one might say, to a large extent, greed-based capitalism, mm-hmm. versus a confiscatory, state-centric socialism / communism. Those were the antipodes of his time. The laissez-faire capitalism and the state-centric socialism. Right. Leo the 13th recognized the problems in both of them, and both of them were creating the very deleterious issues that the Industrial Revolution was propagating. Leo never rejected, never defamed the industrial movement at all. But his aim was to establish that ethics direction, which was so important, set up moral guidelines and guardrails for the Industrial Revolution. And he believed, and he was successful in this. Rerum Novarum is a clear example of this. He believed that the trove of Catholic moral principles could successfully educate the leaders on both sides of this industrial revolution, on the socialist side and the capitalist side, could educate them in the moral principles that must be retained and respected in order that the industrial revolution would steer a course that would indeed benefit the economics of society, the culture of society, and the moral foundation which was needed in order for the people, the workers, to benefit from the Industrial Revolution and retain their dignity as human beings. Human well-being, human integrity was precious to Leo the 13th, and Leo the 14th carries on that perspective, that tradition. Again, initiated by Francis, but it is now a energetic movement within the church. I'd like to go on a bit about what exactly Francis established and how Leo is perpetuating that. Any questions or comments that
Yeah,
you have
no,
at this
no.
point?
I mean, I think you hit it right in the head that it's not. This is not merely a technological issue that the popes are addressing. It's a spirit. It's a moral. It's a spiritual issue, and even to the point where we can talk about that there needs to be a healthy, I don't know if you like this term, but digital ethics, if you will, an ethics that kind of, you know, avoids like escapism or dependence or overuse, simple overuse of AI, that there is no ethical, complacency, and that there should be a guiding moral principle. And maybe if you want to get more into that, because the question would be, what guiding moral principle? Now, yeah, we could say human dignity, right? Human dignity is very broad, though. I recently did an interview with someone who wrote a book on transhumanism, and he says basically, if we can transhumanism, he had it in a negative connotation, and anything that is associated with AI or associated with technology, if it doesn't basically if it enhances man and doesn't replace the nature, obviously that could be something good. But basically, so the thing is, a lot of these points are very broad and it's still in the making, of course, we understand that, but maybe can we pinpoint some of these principles, um and how for Catholics, and how the world should engage with AI individually, institutionally and socially on all levels.
Good, good, yes. How the church is contributing to that? What are they offering? That's key. Leo hails the achievements of Leo the 14th, hails the achievements of AI. He recognizes that AI has, he says it's an exceptional product of human genius. He recognizes the advances it has made in healthcare and in organizational output. He's not a Luddite in any sense, but he believes, again, like the Leo the 13th, that there is a repository of Catholic moral tradition surrounding the nature of the human person, what constitutes human flourishing, well being, dignity, that can be and should be injected into the development of AI, should become an integral part of the AI revolution. Pope Francis ordered a document from the Vatican dicasteries, the one for the doctrine of the faith, the dicastery for the culture, and the dicastery for education. He requested a document on the condition, the situation, the prognosis for AI. That was called Antiqua et Novus, the old and the new. It was a note on the relationship between artificial intelligence and human intelligence. This is a very rich, profoundly insightful document. It wasn't written and developed by Francis, but overseen by Francis. It was developed by these dicasteries. And it is a gift, I believe, to those of us who wish to tease out that ethic, those principles that you were mentioning. It's just tremendous. Leo the 14th, our Pope Leo, organized the second Congress, the second Congress on the meeting uh, for the let me get this exactly right here, for a meeting for the AI ethics and corporate governance. The Catholic Church has sponsored two of them. The first one came under Francis, the second last spring, initiated by Pope Leo. And he offered a message to that conference on the inaugural day of the conference, a important, profound message regarding how to approach AI. And that message summarizes, cites some of the principles that emerge from Antiqua et Nova under Pope Francis, and adds Leo's own perspective, which is a very sound, prudent approach, I think, to AI. What does he see as the basic issues with AI, not just Leo, but the church? What are those basic moral issues we are confronting? And secondly, what are the ethics principles with which we should address those issues and attempt to make sure it's correct, this developmental revolution of AI?
Yeah,
Um,
that makes total sense. I think possibly the church will, which these have been mentioned before, but maybe have a document with all these points put together, stemming from human dignity, that would probably focus on how, which you have alluded to, how AI should serve man. So AI should serve man, just like, again, rooted in divine revelation, how all of creation is for the service of man. AI part of that, and not the reverse, where man is serving AI. And we're not looking basically for pure efficiency. We're not falling into a pragmatism, but the gospel is kind of the norm. The gospel is what guides everything, to the point where the central focus is the personal relationship with, of course, with man, but foundationally the personal relationship with God that is not replaced. We do not think that artificial intelligence is an actual intelligence with its own kind of dignity, kind of like what you would call technological idolatry, where it becomes an idol, it becomes this God that even has a higher dignity than man, which we're seeing in this ecological spirit too, where creation, kind of like the values are inverse. Creation is more important than man. So basically, all relationships must serve the human person, and it's rooted in dignity in the gospel. Transparency too. I think transparency and truth have to be the goal too. Again, the gospel, Christ being the truth itself. We need Christianity essentially, because without truth, it's just, I mean, um, there's definitely a lot of, it could be used just for a lot of nefarious reasons and
we
just
lose our
escape a lot
way
of
without
regulation.
truth. Yes,
Yeah,
we
so I don't
lose
know
our
if you
way
wanted
without
to
truth.
Yeah, so those are just some of the things that some of the
What
principles. Yeah.
yes, and what is kind of in the background of what you're saying is that AI can have a serious deleterious effect on human flourishing.
Mm,
Um, Leo and Francis point out that one of the fundamental characteristics of the human person is to seek to know truth, is to, in an epistemological sense, strive to achieve wisdom. Um, on the way to such goals, truth, wisdom, we rely on a kind of natural talent we have to recognize what is the order of beauty, what is the order of, indeed, the metaphysical. We aim to know how we should proceed in our efforts, in our quests for that kind of truth, which helps to fortify our dignity as human beings. Leo warns that AI, what we can know through AI, is not wisdom. AI, that ability to connect with a massive amount of data, is not in that pursuit of wisdom what will yield truth.
right. Mhm.
Wisdom is not the availability of massive amounts of data.
Mhm.
Um, Leo, that's pretty much a quote from Leo. And there are social justice issues concerned with AI, to be sure. I mean, job losses is a real possibility.
Mhm.
Marginalization and exploitation of cultures, societies that aren't as advanced as those developed societies, which use this tool, and emphasis must be placed on that term. AI is a tool which use this tool to promote their own development. So cultures, societies can be kind of lost in the lurch as this AI revolution proceeds. Um, there are other issues that have to be taken into account in regard to the well-being of AI use.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Do you
We
think,
have, yeah,
because you
go
mentioned
ahead.
something very interesting, do you think there is, and I don't know if you see this as a positive and negative or it's just a state of fact, where there's what they call technological determinism, that really we cannot avoid the use of AI. We can't resist. We just have to accept AI as something inevitable, as something even uncontrollable. So, should Catholic ethics, should we resist that tendency to this?
Yeah, that kind of technological fatalism is a reality that especially the youth today are suffering from. It's hard for them to detached and plugged themselves, detached because they are awash in this
Yes.
data, which inundates them from various AI, the various chat GPT, the Meta AI, the Grok, Pi, etc. They're just awash with these AI tools, and it's hard for them to think beyond them. The youth are a real concern for Pope Leo. How are they? How is their development, their ability to experience happiness and flourish and pursue epistemologically, try to know as best as humanly possible beauty, order, final things, the eschatological dimension.
That's right.
All of that seems to be at risk in many ways with those these Gen Z types, or the iGen, the iGen, the internet generation, the generation that has never been without the internet, huh?
Yeah.
That these various age groups are stuck in. Just a it's they're so hypnotized, and I use that in a kind of figurative sense, by the screens. They can't escape them. There is this term in psychology, hypnagogic fascination. The hypnagogic fascination is the kind of consciousness we have if we and I've experienced this many times, and I like it. It can be meditative. You look at a fire, in the fireplace or a campfire, the jumping flames and so on. Um, you can become entranced by that. You just stare at the fire. And I can remember when we take the kids on camping trips, and we'd sit around the fire and look at it and watch it and tell stories. It was just a marvelous time. But that hypnagogic fascination may be something similar to that, maybe what these screen addicted age groups are suffering from, because more and more, as the Pope observes, they're losing their sense, their ability to know, given their natural talents, what is genuine order, genuine beauty, genuine truth, genuine spiritual, experiences. Um,
That's a
they're
big
losing
question.
that. Yeah,
That's a big question. How do you integrate? How do you enhance the natural by soundly integrating AI, especially like in classrooms, in the seminary, for example, or even
sure.
liturgy? I mean, I know of a priest who has an iPad instead of a missal during the mass. So the iPad resting on
I've
the.
seen that before too. Yes,
So what do you think about how do we, I guess it's very hard, but this is $1 million question. For example, how should a teacher concretely use, I know it's a very pointed question, but how should a teacher concretely use AI in a good way, you think? Because this is what I'm struggling with. I teach, and I do allow the students to use AI from time to time, but they have to present it. So they present it. They can't just read. So I have them do presentations from time to time. They can use like ChatGPT, but as long as they simulate the content, then I kind of give them that use. I don't know. What say you?
we're looking for them to critical reason on their own.
Right.
Data can be most helpful for critical reasoning, but the act of critical reasoning is
Hmm.
a truth seeking act. Huh? The activation of our intellect is a truth-seeking act. And as long as they can assimilate the data available through the various chat programs and so on, and we have to recognize that it is just data. The algorithms and the connections that they can make from other sites on the internet and so on, all of that is in use with those AI chat programs. But at the same time, don't develop on their own a critically reasoned, holistic understanding of that and how that kind of information can be a successful launch, can lead to a successful launch of their own understanding. They are caught in imagination filled by these algorithmic folks. You got to get out of that phantasm, so to speak, and activate the intellect to get to the concepts behind it. And that's, I think, what really we want to ask of students. What are the concepts at work here, the ideas at work? And once you can identify the concepts, it's then possible to weigh them critically and even judge them morally. We have to recognize that, at first and foremost, that what underlies so much of this concern and worry about is our moral issues, serious moral issues. That's why I find, Raphael, the work of someone like Christopher Riley, in his recent book, AI and Sin, How Today's Technology Motivates Evil. When I saw that title, I said, I've got to find out what this is all about. And it's very curious because he raises a point from St. Thomas Aquinas. The sin he's talking about is the deadly sin called acedia. Mm-hmm. And I'm afraid so many of our young people today are, if not currently committing this sin, are kind of on the border of it, because AI, the screens, that kind of fascination can hook you so easily. What is this acedia we're talking about? And Riley gives a definition from St. Thomas. I kind of move beyond that, but through St. Thomas, we have acedia is a spiritual disorder in which a person avoids or rejects the effort involved in responding to God's love and transforming oneself virtuously. I believe, in agreement with Riley, it is fundamentally a lack of care for what is truly good. For what is truly good.
That's exactly right.
The fatalism, the end towards which technology almost naturally, and it's a strange use of the word naturally, the end towards which technology is, in a sense, because of its nature, it's that mechanism is towards this kind of acedia. And in short, I call it a kind of moral indifference. Moral indifference. And recognizing that there is that tendency within AI to lead to moral indifference where you just don't care. that kind of fatalism technological fatalism we were talking about earlier. It, it's, it's
Right.
surrendering yourself to that kind of acedia in a sense. Um, there's been some studies done on acedia in various different forms that really should cause us definite concern. Because if we know the nature of the ethical problem we're facing, we can better establish guardrails
Mm.
to avoid it, and as much as possible steer this, which can be a very positive AI revolution in the sense of ethics, in the right direction. Um, the Catholic Register published an article by one of their writers, Alyssa Murphy, and this article reports on a study by John Byrne Murdoch, which appeared in all places, the Financial Times. And this study focused on the detrimental impact of screens, that screen fascination, and technology on the minds of youth. There were many troublesome issues discovered, but what emerged as kind of the most worrisome were first of all, these screen absorbed youth
Mm.
exhibit a complacency about caring for community. They feel less talkative and are more withdrawn. They have difficulty making plans and executing them. They lack motivation and live in a state of constant distraction. I mean, we can see that at an airport. Everybody's on their phones, the constant distraction, huh? Live in a state of constant distraction and have trust issues, causing them to be more argumentative and combative, pugnacious. The
Mm.
study results by this John Byrne Murdoch, published in the Financial Times.
Wow.
That is acedia.
Right.
That's that moral difference, that lack of concern for what's truly good, the um, dissipation of solid human relations. A kind, it's a kind of apathy, but it's just not straight out apathy. I think that it's more, and I'll use this word, insidious than that, because it possesses, for the screen absorbed youth, it possesses their entire human presence.
Right.
Um, um, they, 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 they can't be fully present unless they're connected to a screen somehow.
That's right. That's crazy. I mean, and that definitely has repercussions spiritually. I mean, these are just the
Oh,
psychological kind of natural, more naturalist um effects, but definitely, well, spiritual also. I mean, being more argumentative, it's this overuse is tremendously detrimental, and it's yeah, I mean, it's almost as it makes impossible salvation because it really closes us off to the supernatural and the spiritual life where God comes to us in the silence and solitude. And even though we're in silence, that interior silence is totally lacking. There's no interior silence at all with that, that machine, that phone, basically, and you being on it constantly. It's crazy. But this, I mean, Yeah, well, I'll give you the last word because this has been
The,
great. We could go on and on about this. This is great
that's
stuff. But go ahead.
super insightful because you know what we used to call the dark nights of the soul, huh? And
Oh
you've
yeah,
had some, I'm sure I've experienced some too. And you come out of there in a certain, hopefully, epiphany. You lose hope. You lose hope. Hope is a kind of humble deference to what is transcendent. You can't contemplate the transcendence through a screen. I mean, maybe it's possible there are some, and I've seen some of these sites, and they're very good. The prayers coming over the
uh-huh.
internet, and
Yeah,
various uh, homilies, and and that can be very helpful. But ultimately, if it is a kind of screen addiction, you're trapped. I mean, and so vulnerable to all sorts of other kinds of influences. Um, Today we can see this with the politicians. They're being coached to this. Just get on the screen, no matter what the heck you're saying. Make sure it's extreme enough just to catch and keep people's attention within that 3 minute tick-tocky world, huh? That's what it's all about. And that blur goes by so fast. I mean, from one type of image or representation to another. It's just phantasmic.
yeah.
It's like it's replacing um, reason having some control over the imagination, because these representations that we're getting just um, we drown in them, and that drowning is what opens us or leads us to the road of acedia. um, and I'm getting worked up about this.
I think there's a
I've seen
pushback
it.
though. I think I
I've
hopefully
seen
I'm
it.
seeing there's a pushback. Yeah, against.
Yeah, I've seen this so much. And our local high school, for example,
Oh,
has taken a project, and I think this is quite good, collecting phones at the beginning of the day,
that's what
and
we
they
do.
can
We
get them back.
I teach high
But
school in the pocket. They have to go in the pocket and they have to stay there. So there's a pushback to this, but I feel bad for the generation that this was experimented on. Kind of
right,
this experimented
right.
on, and they're stuck into it. They have to really conquer themselves to get out of it, as you mentioned. But now I see a pushback to this, and there's an article on the Epic Times talking about the return of the dummy phone.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
well, this has been really great. So I still give you the last word. Just kind of end it. If you want any last exhortations, or
I
can we coexist with human and machine? The whole cyborg theory.
Oh, that question of sentience is a thorny
Oh,
issue.
oh
Oh, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
And singularity and so on. Those are. I mean, I have some former students who are still caught up in this. They believe 20 years or so. I had a discussion with one of them a couple of weeks ago where he's convinced that within 25 years we're going to achieve singularity. The organic, inorganic kind of implant or whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
um, but I think the key is that, and I think recognize what the church has to offer in regard to the um, discourse surrounding AI and a sound um, moral development of AI for the sake of human well-being and flourishing has to be attended to. Has to be attended to. There is, again, as Leo the 13th, that trove of Catholic tradition has to be um, relied upon, has to be activated to offer a alternative or a corrective, and one might even say an antidote to what AI can lead to, the acedia to which AI can lead. And knowing the problem, knowing the ethics problem in all of its dimensions, I think is a key first step. Um, um, those who are pointing out that there is a natural course in AI towards sin, that is so not just instructive, but moving spiritually. We have to be aware of that. We were up until just the past 5 years, maybe a few years more. Yeah, we just accepted it. I mean, you had the kooks on the one, and this is the end of humanity. Skynet is taking over, and so on. Didn't take that seriously, but now we're getting more serious, and the church is showing us the way here. That there is a well laid out path to the acedia of AI.
Right.
It can be avoided
Right.
by understanding the nature of that ethics or that unethical path.
Right.
It can be avoided. And that's what I think we've got to focus on now with the help of the church and many of its leaders and thinkers. Recognize, yes, guardrails, directions, leadership can be invited to steer this revolution in the right way.
Right.
Leo the 13th did it
Right.
to a
Right.
large extent.
Well,
I think it can be done again.
yeah, no, thanks be to God for that. And then just alluding to the church, as a grounding principle to goodness,
Yes,
to reality. It's without the church, thank God, it's the guiding light. Well, thank you very much. This has been very insightful. I've learned a lot, and we're definitely gonna have you again. Let us know any future articles you have. So
sure.
all of you guys check out his article below. It will be linked below down in the description. And well, thanks for coming on. God bless you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
God bless.